Just sometimes I wish...
Yeah? Wish what?
Wish I could get close to somebody. But you know what happens when I do.
Imagine a life where every touch is dangerous. Every moment of physical connection could mean loss of control, not only of your powers, but of your identity, and even your loved ones' lives. This is the reality of Rogue, one of the X-Men's most fascinating and tragic characters. Today, we're diving into the psychology behind Rogue's fear of intimacy and human connection, exploring how her powers affect her relationships and what this tells us about the human need for closeness. Welcome to Unmasked. Rogue's fear of intimacy begins with trauma. As a teenager, she discovers her mutant powers in the worst possible way, accidentally absorbing her boyfriend's life force with a simple kiss. The incident leaves her devastated, and this becomes the foundation of her deep psychological struggle. The fear of hurting others, even when all she desires is closeness. But her powers don't just drain energy. They absorb memories, thoughts, and even personalities. Every touch isn't just a risk of those around her, it's an invasion of their identity into her own. For Rogue, intimacy is more than dangerous. It's overwhelming. In psychology, we can look at Rogue's situation through the lens of attachment theory. Humans are wired for connection, emotionally and physically. From infancy, we bond with others through touch. These early attachments help us feel safe, valued, and loved. But what happens when you can't touch, even as you crave connection? For Rogue, the inability to touch anyone without causing harm leaves her stuck in a state of avoidant attachment. This is where someone avoids intimacy and emotional closeness, often because they fear rejection or being hurt. Rogue doesn't just fear physical harm, she fears emotional rejection as well. Over time, this isolation eats away at her sense of belonging. This leads us to Rogue's fear of intimacy. Intimacy, both physical and emotional, requires vulnerability. It's about opening yourself up to another person, sharing your authentic self, and trusting that they won't hurt you. But for Rogue, her powers have turned this into a nightmare. Her touch is not a gift, it's a threat. Even when she tries to get close to someone emotionally, like Gambit, her fears of what she could do creates a wall between them. She can't allow herself to be vulnerable because vulnerability means losing control, something she's constantly battling against. What's fascinating is that Rogue's struggle mirrors the experience of many people in the real world who deal with emotional isolation. Fear of intimacy can develop from trauma, rejection, or even self-perception issues. People may push others away to protect themselves from being hurt, even when deep down they crave connection. Rogues constantly battle between wanting to belong and fearing the consequences of that closeness. This creates a cycle of loneliness where the very thing she desires the most, human connection, feels impossible to reach. For Rogue, this fear of intimacy isn't just about physical touch, it's symbolic of a deeper existential fear, the fear of being known and seen for who she truly is. With so much of her identity shaped by the people she's absorbed, who is she, really? And can anyone love her if she can't fully reveal herself? This is where Rogue's journey becomes a metaphor for the human struggle with self-acceptance. Many people, mutant or not, grapple with the fear that if others knew their true selves, their flaws, their traumas, they would be rejected. Rogue's story asks us to think about how we balance the need for closeness with the fear of exposure. But there's hope in Rogue's journey. Even with her powers, her fears, and her history, she's part of the X-Men, an important part of a family. This is a reminder that connection doesn't have to be physical to be meaningful. Rogue finds emotional intimacy in her friendships, and even though it's difficult, she keeps trying to find a way to be close to others. Her story encourages us to reach out even when it's hard. Rogue's fear of intimacy teaches us about the power of human connection and the pain of isolation. Her story is one of resilience, of finding ways to belong even when the odds are stacked up against you. And in the end, Rogue shows us that even in a world full of mutants and superpowers, the most powerful force of all is the need for love and connection. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into Rogue's psychology, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment about which X-Men character's psychology you'd like us to explore next. Until next time, stay connected.